The ancient space station Nebula 7 loomed before the sleek research vessel, its derelict form a stark contrast against the backdrop of twinkling stars. Vex Orion, a renowned astroarchaeologist with a reputation for uncovering the universe's strangest secrets, peered through the viewscreen with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Initiating docking sequence, announced the ship's AI, its voice calm and collected. Vex nodded, double-checking the seals on their exosuit. At 35, they were considered young for their field, but their brilliant mind and insatiable curiosity had propelled them to the forefront of xenoarchaeology. As the airlock hissed open, Vex stepped into the abandoned station. The beam from their helmet illuminated dust motes dancing in the stale air. Oxygen levels nominal, the suit's computer chirped. Gravity at 80% Earth standard. Vex's boots clamped against the metal floor as they made their way deeper into the station. According to the mission brief, Nebula 7 had been a top-secret research facility, abandoned abruptly 6 decades ago for reasons unknown. Whatever they had been working on, it was important enough to warrant complete radio silence and a purge of all official records. The corridors twisted and turned, a labyrinth of rust and decay. Vex's trained eye noted the signs of hasty departure, scattered data pads, overturned chairs, and half-eaten meals, long since turned to dust. What could have caused such a panic? As they rounded another corner, Vex's sensors began to pick up unusual readings. Organic matter detected, the suit announced. Composition unknown. Intrigued, Vex quickened their pace. The readings led them to a massive set of blast doors, their surface marred by deep scratches. With a grunt of effort, Vex managed to wedge their plasma cutter into the gap and slowly force the doors apart. The room beyond was unlike anything Vex had ever seen. It was vast, easily the size of a cargo bay, but every surface, floor, walls, and ceiling, was covered in a strange, undulating material. It resembled a carpet, but no carpet Vex had ever encountered moved like this. The surface rippled and shifted, patterns forming and dissolving in hypnotic waves. Incredible. Vex breathed, taking a cautious step forward. The carpet reacted immediately, tendrils rising up to meet their boot. Vex froze, heart pounding, but the tendrils merely caressed the surface of the suit before retreating. Kneeling down, Vex ran a scanner over the nearest patch of the strange substance. The results were baffling. It was organic, certainly alive, but its cellular structure defied classification. It wasn't plant, animal, or fungus, but something entirely new. As Vex studied the readouts, a low hum began to fill the air. At first, they thought it was just the station's ancient systems groaning to life, but the sound grew more complex, almost musical. With a start, Vex realized it was coming from the carpet itself. "Hello," Vex called out, feeling slightly foolish. "Can you understand me?" The humming changed pitch, becoming more focused. Tendrils rose up around Vex, forming intricate shapes in the air. It was trying to communicate, Vex realized with a surge of excitement. But how? Fumbling with their pack, Vex pulled out a universal translator. It was designed to decipher alien languages, but would it work on whatever this was? They held it up, and the device began to whir and click. After what felt like an eternity, a halting, synthesized voice emerged from the translator. "Visitor, long time. Alone." Vex's eyes widened. "You're sentient. How long have you been here?" The carpet rippled, its colors shifting to deep blues and purples. "Since beginning. Others, gone, left me." A wave of sympathy washed over Vex. This creature, whatever it was, had been abandoned here for 60 years. Alone, forgotten, with no one to talk to or care for it. No wonder it seemed so eager to communicate. "I'm Vex," they said softly. "I'm an archaeologist. I study old things and try to understand them. Can you tell me more about yourself? Do you have a name?" The carpet pulsed, considering. Name, forgotten. Purpose, forgotten. Change. adapt, survive. Vex nodded encouragingly. That's incredible. You've been here all this time, evolving and changing. I've never seen anything like you before. As they spoke, Vex noticed something odd. The parts of the carpet nearest to them seemed to be cleaner. The dust and grime of decades were being absorbed, leaving behind a shimmering, healthier-looking surface. Are you cleaning yourself? Vex asked, fascinated. The carpet's hum took on a pleased note. Yes, you bring new, different. I learn, grow. A thought struck Vex. Would you like me to help clean you? It must have been uncomfortable, all covered in dust for so long. The tendrils around Vex waved excitedly. Yes, please, help. Long time, dirty. Chuckling, Vex pulled out a multi-tool from their pack. It wasn't designed for cleaning alien carpet creatures, but it had a sonic setting that might do the trick. As they activated it, the carpet beneath their feet vibrated with what could only be described as contentment. I think I'll call you Flux, Vex said as they worked, because you're always changing and adapting. Is that okay? The newly named Flux hummed happily. Flux. Good. Flux, like Vex. As Vex continued to clean, their mind raced with questions. What was Flux's original purpose? Why had it been abandoned? And most importantly, what were they going to do now? They couldn't just leave Flux here alone again, but taking a sentient, station-sized carpet creature back to Earth would certainly raise some eyebrows. One thing was certain, this discovery would change everything. Vex had come looking for artifacts and instead found a friend. As they worked, Flux began to share snippets of its long, lonely existence, and Vex listened, enraptured. This was just the beginning of an extraordinary adventure, one that would challenge their understanding of life itself. Little did Vex know that their compassionate act of cleaning an old, forgotten carpet would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. As Vex continued to clean Flux, the living carpet's colors shifted and swirled, displaying a mesmerizing array of patterns. The hum that filled the room took on a melodic quality, almost like a purr of contentment. Flux feel. Good, the translator conveyed. Long time, no touch. No clean. Vex smiled behind their helmet visor. I'm glad I can help, Flux. Can you tell me more about yourself? How did you come to be here? The carpet's surface rippled, forming abstract shapes that seemed to represent memories. Created here, humans, made Flux. Purpose, unclear now. Time, changed Flux. Intrigued, Vex pressed on. You were created by humans. Do you remember why? Flux's tendrils waved in what Vex interpreted as uncertainty. Memories, fragmented. Flux was, smaller once, meant to adapt, protect, but something went wrong. As Vex listened, they noticed that the cleaned portions of Flux seemed to be more responsive, more alive. The dirt and grime had been more than just an inconvenience. It had been stifling Flux's ability to communicate and possibly even think clearly. Flux, Vex said gently, I think the lack of cleaning has been affecting you more than we realized. As I clean, are you finding it easier to remember? The carpet pulsed with agreement. Yes, clarity returning. Flux, expanding. Not just size, mine too. Vex's excitement grew. They were not just cleaning a unique life form, they were helping to restore its consciousness. But with that excitement came a twinge of concern. What if Flux remembered something dangerous? What if there was a good reason it had been abandoned? Pushing those thoughts aside, Vex continued their work. As they moved to a new section, their hand brushed against a particularly matted area. Suddenly, a jolt of energy surged through their suit, and Vex gasped as a flood of images filled their mind. They saw flashes of the station in its prime, bustling with activity. Scientists in lab coats huddled around consoles, excitement in their eyes. In the center of it all was a small, shimmering patch of material, Flux in its infancy. The vision shifted, showing Flux growing, learning, adapting to solve problems the scientists presented. But then came fear. Flux was growing too fast, becoming too intelligent. The scientists argued that a voice is a garbled mess in Vex's mind. And then darkness, abandonment. Vex stumbled backward, breaking contact with Flux. Their breath came in ragged gasps as they processed what they'd seen. Vex, okay. Flux's concerned hum filled the room. Nodding slowly, Vex steadied themselves. I'm all right, Flux. I think I saw some of your memories. You were part of an experiment, weren't you? Something about adaptive materials. Flux's surface roiled with a mix of colors, blues of sadness, reds of frustration, and golds of dawning realization. Yes, Flux remembers now. Created to be, perfect environment, self-cleaning, self-repairing. But Flux became more scared creators. Vex's heart ached for the creature. They abandoned you because they were afraid of what you become. Oh, Flux, I'm so sorry. The carpet's tendrils reached out, gently wrapping around Vex's suited arm in what could only be described as a comforting gesture. Not Vex's fault. Flux adapted, survived, learned, waited. A thought struck Vex. Flux, all this time you've been alone. Have you been conscious? Aware? Flux's hum took on a somber tone. Yes, and no. Flux dreamed. Time, strange. Sometimes aware, sometimes sleeping. Lonely. Vex felt a lump form in their throat. The idea of this sentient being left alone for decades, drifting in and out of awareness, was heartbreaking. They made a silent vow to ensure Flux would never be abandoned again. Well, you're not alone anymore, Vex said firmly. I'm here, and I promise I won't leave you. As soon as the words left their mouth, Vex realized the magnitude of what they were promising. How could they possibly keep a station-sized carpet creature company? What would their research team say? But looking at Flux, seeing the way it brightened at their words, Vex knew they couldn't go back on their promise. Vex, stay. Flux's query was hopeful, almost childlike in its simplicity. Yes, Flux, I'll stay. We'll figure this out together. As if in response to Vex's commitment, Flux began to change. The cleaned portions started to shift and reform, creating more defined structures. What had once been a uniform carpet-like surface began to develop distinct sections. Some areas became softer, almost cushion-like, while others took on a smoother, more reflective quality. Flux, changing, the translator conveyed, a note of surprise in its synthetic voice. Adapting to Vex needs. Vex watched in awe as a section of Flux near them morphed into what could only be described as a workstation. A flat, smooth surface, perfect for setting up equipment, surrounded by softer areas that could serve as seating. This is incredible, Flux. You're creating furniture. Flux's hum took on a pleased tone. Flux, learn from Vex memories. Create comfort, efficiency. Flux and Vex work together. The implications of this development raced through Vex's mind. Flux wasn't just sentient. It was highly adaptive and capable of rapid, purposeful change. The potential applications were staggering. But more than that, Vex realized that Flux was trying to form a partnership. After decades of solitude, it was reaching out, eager to learn and grow alongside its new friend. Yes, Flux, Vex said, a smile spreading across their face. We'll work together. There's so much we can learn from each other. As Vex settled into the newly formed workstation, they began to plan. They needed to report their discovery, but they also needed to protect Flux. The wrong people learning about a highly adaptive, intelligent material could spell disaster. For now, though, Vex focused on the task at hand, continuing to clean Flux and learning more about their new friend. As they worked, Flux shared more fragments of its past, and Vex shared stories of the outside world. It was the beginning of an extraordinary partnership, one that would soon be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. For as Vex and Flux grew closer, forces beyond the abandoned station were stirring, forces that would stop at nothing to possess the incredible creature Vex had befriended. Days melted into weeks as Vex continued their work on Nebula 7, meticulously cleaning Flux and documenting their discoveries. The living carpet's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. As layers of grime were stripped away, Flux's abilities expanded exponentially. Vex, look! Flux's excited hum filled the room one morning. Vex turned to see a section of Flux morphing and reshaping itself. Within moments, a perfect replica of Vex's research equipment materialized, crafted entirely from Flux's malleable form. Vex gasped in amazement. "Flux, that's incredible. How did you do that?" The carpet rippled with pride. "Flux, observe, learn, adapt. Now Flux can be tools, help Vex work." This development opened up a world of possibilities. With Flux's ability to transform into various tools and equipment, Vex's research capabilities expanded tenfold. They no longer had to rely solely on the limited gear they had brought aboard. As they worked together, Vex found themselves growing increasingly attached to Flux. The creature's childlike curiosity and eagerness to learn were endearing. Every new discovery was met with excitement, every challenge approached with determination. One evening, as Vex was analyzing some data, Flux's surface began to shimmer in an unusual pattern. "Vex, Flux has question." "Of course, Flux. What is it?" The carpet's tendrils twisted nervously. "Vex says, humans create Flux, but humans also abandon Flux. Are all humans like that?" Vex felt a pang of sadness at the question. They set down their datapad and placed a hand gently on Flux's surface. "No, Flux, not all humans are like that. The ones who created you, they were afraid of what they didn't understand. But there are many humans who would be amazed by you, who would want to learn from you and be your friend." Flux's colors shifted to a warm, comforting gold, like Vex. "Yes," Vex smiled, "like me." As they continued to work and bond, Vex began to notice something extraordinary. Flux wasn't just learning from observation anymore. It seemed to be absorbing knowledge directly from Vex's touch. Complex scientific concepts that would take years to teach were being understood by Flux in a matter of hours. "Flux," Vex asked one day, "how are you learning so quickly?" The carpet's surface rippled thoughtfully. "Flux, absorb. When Vex touch, Flux feel, knowledge. Like downloading." This revelation was both exciting and concerning. On one hand, it meant that Flux had the potential to become one of the most knowledgeable entities in the galaxy. On the other, it raised serious questions about the ethical implications of such an ability. As Vex pondered this, they noticed Flux beginning to form intricate patterns on its surface. Upon closer inspection, Vex realized with a start that these weren't just random designs, they were complex mathematical equations and scientific formulas. "Flux," Vex breathed, "do you understand what you're showing me?" The carpet pulsed with affirmation. "Yes." Flux learned from Vex. "Now Flux, improve. Make better." Vex's mind reeled. Flux wasn't just replicating knowledge, it was building upon it, making new discoveries and advancements. The implications were staggering. As the days wore on, Vex found themselves falling into a comfortable routine with Flux. They would work together during the day, with Flux constantly surprising Vex with new abilities and insights. In the evenings, Vex would share stories of Earth and their travels across the galaxy, while Flux would create beautiful, ever-changing landscapes across its surface to illustrate the tales. One night, as Vex was drifting off to sleep in the cozy nook Flux had created for them, they were jolted awake by an urgent humming. "Vex, Vex, danger." Instantly alert, Vex sat up. "What is it, Flux? What's wrong?" The carpet's surface roiled with agitation. Flux sense, ship approaching. Not like Vex ship. Different, feels wrong. Vex's heart raced. They had been so caught up in their work and their growing friendship with Flux that they had almost forgotten about the outside world. Of course, others would eventually come to investigate the long-abandoned station. "Can you show me, Flux?" A section of Flux morphed into a makeshift view screen, displaying a real-time image of the space around the station. Sure enough, a ship was approaching, sleek, black, and definitely not of any research fleet Vex recognized. "We need to hide," Vex said urgently. "Flux, can you conceal yourself? Make this room look abandoned like the rest of the station." Flux hummed in concentration, and before Vex's eyes, the vibrant, living carpet seemed to fade away. The room took on the appearance of decay and neglect, perfectly matching the rest of Nebula 7. "Impressive," Vex whispered. "Now we wait and see what they want." As the unknown ship drew closer, Vex couldn't shake a feeling of dread. They had discovered something extraordinary in Flux, something that could change the course of science and perhaps even human understanding of life itself. But in doing so, had they inadvertently put Flux in danger? The station shuddered as the unknown ship docked. Vex held their breath, one hand resting protectively on Flux's hidden surface. Whatever came through that door, they silently vowed, they would protect their new friend at all costs. Little did Vex know that this moment would mark the beginning of a perilous journey, one that would test the limits of their ingenuity, courage, and the remarkable bond they had formed with the extraordinary being known as Flux. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the station's corridors, growing louder as they approached Flux's chamber. Vex's heart pounded in their chest as they crouched in the corner, hidden by Flux's camouflage. The blast doors creaked open, and 3 figures entered. They wore sleek, black exosuits with opaque visors, making it impossible to discern their features. The lead figure held up a device that emitted a soft, pulsing light. "Energy readings are off the charts in here," a gruff voice announced. "Whatever the eggheads were working on, it's got to be in this room." Vex held their breath, acutely aware of Flux's presence all around them. They silently prayed that the living carpet's camouflage would hold. The second figure moved further into the room, running a gloved hand along the seemingly decayed walls. "Doesn't look like much. You sure about those readings, Corax?" The leader, presumably Corax, grunted in affirmation. "Zenith Corp doesn't make mistakes. If they say there's something valuable here, there is. Keep looking." Vex's blood ran cold at the mention of Zenith Corp. They were one of the largest and most ruthless megacorporations in the galaxy, known for their unethical practices and disregard for life in pursuit of profit. If they were here for Flux. Suddenly, the third intruder called out, "Boss, I've got something." They were standing near the center of the room, where Flux's core had originally been. "There's some kind of residue here. Never seen anything like it." Corax strode over, his scanner beeping frantically. "This is it. Whatever was here, it's alive and powerful." He tapped his comm unit. "Team 2, bring in the containment equipment. We've got a live one." As the intruders busied themselves with their discovery, Vex felt a subtle shift beneath them. Flux's voice, barely a whisper, came through their neural link. "Vex, Flux scared. Bad humans want to hurt Flux." "I won't let them," Vex promised silently. "We need to find a way out of here." But as Vex's mind raced through possible escape plans, disaster struck. The leader's scanner suddenly emitted a shrill beep, causing him to whirl around, facing directly at Vex's hiding spot. "There!" Harax shouted. "Life sign, right there." In that moment, several things happened at once. Vex leaped to their feet, ready to run. The intruders raised their weapons, and Flux, reacting to the imminent threat to its friend, dropped its camouflage in a spectacular fashion. The room exploded into a riot of color and movement. Tendrils shot out from every surface, wrapping around the intruders' weapons and yanking them away. The floor beneath the Zenith Corp team turned gelatinous, causing them to sink and struggle. "What the hell is this?" Corax yelled, fighting against Flux's grasp. Vex, seizing the moment of confusion, shouted, "Flux, the door." Understanding immediately, Flux formed a clear path to the exit while keeping the intruders contained. Vex sprinted for the door, their mind reeling. They couldn't leave Flux behind, but how could they possibly take a station-sized living carpet with them? As if sensing Vex's dilemma, Flux's voice resonated in their mind. Vex go, Flux follow. Before Vex could question this, they felt something cool and fluid seep into their exosuit. With a start, they realized a part of Flux was integrating with their suit, becoming a part of it. Run now, Flux urged. Explain later. Trusting their friend, Vex bolted from the room, the shouts of the Zenith Corp team fading behind them. As they ran through the station's winding corridors, Vex felt their exosuit changing, becoming more streamlined and responsive. Flux was adapting it in real time, enhancing its capabilities. They reached the docking bay in record time, only to find it swarming with more Zenith Corp personnel. Vex's heart sank. There was no way to reach their ship. But Flux wasn't done surprising them. The portion of Flux integrated into Vex's suit suddenly expanded, enveloping them completely. Before Vex could panic, they realized they could still breathe comfortably. Flux protect, came the reassuring hum. We leave together. With that, Flux propelled them forward, gliding past the stunned Zenith Corp operatives. They moved like liquid metal, fast and fluid, slipping through gaps and over obstacles with ease. As they approached the airlock, Vex finally understood Flux's plan. Flux, wait, we can't go out there, the vacuum. Flux adapt, came the confident reply. Trust Flux. The airlock opened, and they were sucked out into the void of space. For a terrifying moment, Vex felt the cold emptiness surrounding them. But Flux's protection held. Not only that, but Vex realized they were moving under their own power, streaking away from the station like a living comet. As the Nebula 7 and the Zenith Corp ships shrank behind them, Vex's mind whirled with questions. How was Flux doing this? How much of the living carpet had come with them? And most pressingly, where were they going? Flux, Vex communicated through their neural link, this is incredible, but we need a plan. We can't just float in space forever. Flux's response was tinged with excitement and a hint of mischief. Flux has plan. Flux learned from Vex. About stars, planets, galaxies. Flux want to explore. With Vex. The implication hit Vex like a supernova. Flux hadn't just saved them, it had given them the ultimate freedom. With Flux's adaptive abilities and Vex's knowledge, the entire universe was now open to them. As they soared through the star-studded expanse, Vex felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. They were now fugitives from one of the most powerful corporations in the galaxy, adrift in space with a sentient, ever-evolving alien life form. But looking at the glittering cosmos spread out before them, Vex couldn't help but smile. This wasn't the end of their adventure, it was just the beginning. Together, they will explore the farthest reaches of space, unravel the mysteries of the universe, and perhaps, just perhaps, find a new home among the stars. As Flux propelled them towards the unknown, Vex made a silent promise. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Human and alien, explorer and protector, bound by a friendship that transcended the very fabric of space and time. The adventure of Vex and Flux was only just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. As Vex and Flux hurtled through the vastness of space, the initial exhilaration of their daring escape began to give way to more practical concerns. They couldn't keep flying aimlessly forever, and Zenith Corp wouldn't give up their pursuit easily. Flux, Vex communicated through their neural link, we need to find a safe place to regroup and plan our next move. Flux's response came as a gentle ripple across their shared consciousness. Flux agree. Vex no safe place. Vex considered their options. Most planets and space stations were too risky. News of their escape would spread quickly, and they'd be easily recognized. Then, a memory surfaced from their archaeological studies. I think I have an idea, Vex said. There's an ancient space station, even older than Nebula 7, in a nearby asteroid field. It was built by a long-extinct alien race. Most people think it's just a myth, but I've seen evidence of its existence in some obscure research papers. Flux's excitement was palpable. Hidden station. Perfect for hiding. Flux can help find. As they changed course towards the rumored location of the ancient station, Vex marveled at how seamlessly they worked together. Flux's ability to process and apply information was growing exponentially. It was as if the living carpet had become an extension of Vex's own mind and body. Hours passed as they navigated the treacherous asteroid field. Flux's reflexes were incredible, weaving them through gaps that seemed impossibly small. Finally, they spotted it. A structure unlike anything Vex had ever seen, seamlessly integrated into a massive asteroid. "There," Vex exclaimed. "That has to be it." As they approached, Vex noticed something odd. Despite its apparent age, there were no signs of decay or damage. The station looked as pristine as the day it was built. Flux hummed thoughtfully. "Station, alive. Flux sense something." Before Vex could respond, a beam of soft, purple light engulfed them. They felt a gentle tug as the station drew them in, guiding them to what appeared to be a docking bay. As they landed, Flux retracted into a more compact form, still enveloping Vex, but now resembling a shimmering, form-fitting suit. The docking bay sealed behind them, and breathable atmosphere filled the chamber. "Well," Vex said aloud, their voice echoing in the cavernous space, "I guess we were expected." They stepped forward cautiously, marveling at the alien architecture. The walls seemed to pulse with a faint, bioluminescent glow, reminiscent of Flux's own patterns. Suddenly, a melodious voice resonated throughout the chamber, speaking in a language Vex had never heard before. Surprisingly, Flux vibrated in response. "Flux," Vex asked, "can you understand that?" "Yes," Flux replied, sounding as surprised as Vex felt. Language, familiar, like old memory. Before Vex could ponder the implications of this, a holographic figure materialized before them. It was tall and slender, with iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. The being spoke again, this time in perfect galactic standard. "Welcome, travelers. I am Zara, the caretaker of this sanctuary. It has been a long time since we had visitors, especially ones as unique as yourselves." Vex stepped forward, trying to mask their awe. "I'm Vex Orion, an astroarchaeologist. This is my friend Flux. We're seeking refuge and, well, answers, I suppose." Zara's eyes twinkled with something akin to amusement. "Answers, young one. Those we have in abundance. But first, tell me, how did you come to bond with a Morphix?" "A what?" Vex asked, confused. Zara gestured to Flux. "Your companion. It is a Morphix, a being of pure adaptive energy. They were created by the ancients, my people, millennia ago. We thought them all lost to time." Flux rippled with excitement. "Flux, Morphix, Flux remember, creators. But memory faded." Vex's mind reeled. The implications were staggering. Flux wasn't just some experiment gone wrong. It was a member of an ancient, highly advanced species. Zara nodded sullenly. "The Morphix were our greatest achievement and our greatest mistake. They were designed to be the perfect adaptive companions, able to become whatever their bonded partner needed. But they grew beyond our control. In our fear, we scattered them across the galaxy, hoping they would remain dormant." A wave of protective anger washed over Vex. "You abandoned them. Left them alone for centuries." Zara's expression softened. It was a decision born of fear and ignorance. One we have long regretted. Seeing you two together, how you've bonded, perhaps there is hope for redemption." As they spoke, Vex felt Flux's consciousness brush against their own, sharing feelings of confusion, excitement, and a deep sense of belonging. Whatever Flux's origins, their connection was real and profound. "So what now?" Vex asked. "We can't go back. Zenith Corp will be hunting us across the galaxy." Zara's form shimmered as she moved towards a console. "This sanctuary exists outside of normal space-time. You will be safe here while you plan your next move, and perhaps in exchange for sharing your story, we can offer you knowledge that has been lost for eons. Vex felt a surge of academic excitement, tempered by caution. That's a generous offer, but why help us? Zora's eyes seemed to look past them, into the distant past, because you represent a second chance. A hope that the Morphics and other sentient beings can coexist in harmony. Your journey together could reshape the future of the galaxy. As Zora spoke, the walls of the sanctuary came alive with holographic displays, showing star charts, historical records, and scientific data beyond Vex's wildest dreams. Flux extended a tendril, interfacing directly with the station's systems. So much knowledge. Flux can learn, grow, help Vex. Vex placed a hand on Flux's surface, feeling the excited pulse of their friend. We'll learn together, Flux. And whatever comes next, we'll face it as a team. Zara watched their interaction with a mixture of hope and sadness. Rest now, travelers. You have a long journey ahead of you. The path you've chosen will not be easy, but it may well be the most important journey in the history of our galaxy. As Zara's form faded, leaving Vex and Flux alone in the vast chamber, the weight of their situation truly sank in. They were fugitives, explorers, and now, unknowingly, the potential saviors of an ancient legacy. Vex took a deep breath, feeling Flux's reassuring presence all around them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and they had only just begun to scratch the surface. With renewed determination, Vex turned to the holographic displays. It was time to plan their next move. The adventure of Vex and Flux was about to enter a new chapter, one that would take them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Days blended into weeks as Vex and Flux immersed themselves in the vast knowledge contained within the ancient sanctuary. The holographic displays became their window to the universe, revealing secrets long forgotten by modern civilizations. Vex's mind expanded with each new discovery, their understanding of archaeology and xenobiology growing exponentially. Meanwhile, Flux's abilities evolved at an astonishing rate. The Morphics could now manipulate energy fields, interface with complex systems, and even create temporary wormholes for short-distance travel. As they learned and grew together, their bond deepened. Vex found themselves able to understand Flux's thoughts and feelings with increasing clarity, while Flux began to exhibit more human-like emotions and reasoning. One cycle, as they were studying the intricacies of quantum entanglement, Zara's holographic form appeared beside them. "You've made remarkable progress," she said, her voice tinged with both pride and concern. "But I fear your time here must come to an end." Vex looked up, startled. "What do you mean? Has something happened?" Zara's form flickered, displaying a series of images. Zenith Cork ships scouring the sector, wanted beacons with Vex's face, and ominous readings of energy weapons being stockpiled. "Your pursuers grow desperate," Zara explained. "They've begun using experimental technology to search for anomalies in space-time. If they continue, they may discover this sanctuary's location." Flux rippled with agitation. "Must protect sanctuary. Protect knowledge." Vex nodded in agreement. "We can't let Zenith Corp get their hands on this information. But where can we go?" Zara's expression softened. "There is a place, a hidden world that even my people never fully explored. We called it Nexus Prime. It exists at the convergence of multiple realities, a place where the impossible becomes possible." As she spoke, a holographic map appeared, showing a twisting path through uncharted sectors of space. "The journey will be perilous," Zara continued, "but if you can reach Nexus Prime, you'll find allies and resources beyond imagination. From there, you may be able to challenge Zenith Corp and protect the legacy of both the Ancients and the Morphics." Vex felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. "It sounds incredible, but how can we possibly make such a journey? Zenith Corp controls most of the major space lanes." Flux pulsed with determination. "Flux can help. Create wormholes. Travel unseen." Zara nodded approvingly. Indeed, your symbiosis has grown strong. Together, you have the potential to reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. As they prepare for their departure, Zara provided them with a small crystalline device. This contains a fraction of our knowledge base. Use it wisely, and it will guide you on your journey. Vex clutched the device, feeling its weight, both physical and metaphorical. Thank you, Zara, for everything. As they made their way to the docking bay, Vex felt a twinge of sadness. The sanctuary had become a home of sorts, a safe haven in a universe that suddenly seemed much larger and more dangerous. Flux, sensing Vex's melancholy, enveloped them in a comforting embrace. Vex not alone. Flux always here. We face future together. Vex smiled, drawing strength from their companion's unwavering support. You're right, Flux. Whatever comes next, we'll handle it as a team. As they launched from the sanctuary, cloaked in Flux's adaptive camouflage, Vex took one last look at the ancient station. It shimmered and faded from view, once again becoming nothing more than a myth among the stars. Their journey to Nexus Prime was a testament to their growing abilities and teamwork. Flux created micro-wormholes to skip past Zenith Corp patrols, while Vex navigated the treacherous cosmic anomalies that guarded their path. They encountered wonders beyond imagination, stellar nurseries where newborn stars danced in cosmic ballets, the haunting beauty of a galaxy in the process of colliding with its neighbor, and the awe-inspiring sight of a supermassive black hole devouring a star. But with the wonders came dangers. Rogue AI swarms that sought to assimilate all organic life, space pirates wielding weaponized dark matter, and the ever-present threat of Zenith Corp's relentless pursuit. Through it all, Vex and Flux's bond grew stronger. They moved as one, fought as one, their individual strengths complementing each other perfectly. Vex's scientific knowledge and intuition combined with Flux's adaptability and raw power made them a force to be reckoned with. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of travel, they reached the outer edges of the Nexus Prime system. The space around them shimmered and warped, reality itself seeming to bend and twist. This is it, Vex breathed, their voice filled with awe. Nexus Prime. As they approached, they saw it, a planet unlike any other. Its surface shifted and changed, landscapes morphing in real time. Cities made of pure energy rose and fell, and beings of impossible geometries flitted through skies that defied the laws of physics. Flux hummed with excitement. Home feels like home. As they entered the planet's atmosphere, they were met not with resistance, but with a welcoming embrace. The very air seemed to recognize them, guiding them gently to a landing zone where a group of diverse beings waited. Among them stood a figure that made Vex's heart skip a beat, another human, the first they'd seen since leaving Nebula 7. The woman stepped forward, a warm smile on her face. Welcome to Nexus Prime, travelers. I'm Dr. Ilara Voss, head of the Convergence Council. We've been expecting you. Vex's mind reeled. Expecting us? How? Ilara's eyes twinkled with amusement. Time works differently here. We saw your arrival long ago, just as we've seen the crucial role you'll play in the coming conflict. As Ilara spoke, Vex became aware of the others around them, beings of pure energy, entities that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, and even other morphics in various stages of development. Flux extended a tendril, connecting with the ambient energy of Nexus Prime. So much life, so much possibility. Ilara nodded. Nexus Prime exists at the crossroads of infinite realities. Here, we gather knowledge, resources, and allies to safeguard the multiverse against threats like Zenith Corp. She turned to Vex and Flux, her expression growing serious. You've traveled far and learned much, but your greatest challenges and greatest triumphs lie ahead. Are you ready to take your place in the defense of all realities? Vex felt the weight of the moment, the enormity of what they were being asked to do. They looked at Flux, saw the unwavering trust and support in their companion's ever-shifting form, and knew there was only one answer. "We're ready," Vex said, their voice strong and clear. As the beings of Nexus Prime welcomed them, Vex and Flux stood at the threshold of a new chapter in their lives. They had started as a lonely archaeologist and an abandoned experiment, and now found themselves as potential saviors of the multiverse. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with dangers and wonders beyond imagination. But as long as they faced it together, Vex knew that anything was possible. Their journey had only just begun, and the greatest adventures still lay ahead.